in the houses, residents. And dentists have the schedule where you've been putting in air conditioners and all this type of stuff. And there's nowhere on that expenditure sheet that it said anything about residents. The reason I'm saying, I used to, before it sunset, I used to sit on the Enterprise Zoning Board for Ms. Teresa Jacob. And I know that to qualify for this money, what you would have to do if you were going to put a roof on your house, it had to be somewhere in the excess of $5,000, I believe. And then you could apply for this money. But then I know that while I was sitting on this board, as a board member, I couldn't go out in the community and tell the people about what was going on, about if you want to put windows in your house. If you and I know that in the Enterprise Zoning Board and the Enterprise Zoning area, if you had a business, if you had, I think it was 3 employees, you could take and you could ask for some of this money. But however, they never published it. We couldn't publish it. So what is the fairness in it when, like Dennis say, just one strip mall, get all these air conditioners, but the residents don't get a chance to apply for this money? That seems one-sided.
Okay, so that's.
Good afternoon. How everybody doing? I'm just going to echo what Leroy and Dennis New said. I'm here today hopefully to get some answers, because I think the last time I spoke with Mr. Hitt, if the CRA has been around for, if I'm not mistaken, about 5 years, and we only had one resident apply for the $1,000. One resident out of 5 years of this program being in existence. That's a real concern and that's a real problem. So I'm here today hoping to see the results, see the numbers. Hopefully they have increased. But we really have a problem when it comes out to how the CRA funds is being distributed. And we need all the commissioners, the mayor, to step up and make sure that the money is used with its purpose, what it's supposed to be used for. Leadership matters, and that's what I'm looking for today. Thank you.
Christine, do you want to come now or do you want to go with after Jim?
Why don't you go after? Yeah, I think just let him. That good?
That's fine.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right. Jim?
Okay, Jim Hitt, Community Development Director, CRA Director also. So this is basically an update on the programs that we've got in the CRA. Back in 2017, we updated our redevelopment plan. We put a lot of different programs in there. We've touched on just about all of them in some form or fashion. One of the things that I've looked at in a lot of the other communities is they recommend working with different groups. We work with groups all the time. If there's a funding mechanism that's involved, we work on that also. We did put in, or we are going to be putting in a few programs this next budget year, having to do with some pocket parks. The areas that we work in for the assistance programs, they are basically throughout the downtown. It's not on one strip mall, as it was alluded to. The people that do these grants, they come in, they do an application, they do 3 quotes. This is basically, it comes back from the CDBG grant programs back in 94, 95 that we were working on. They required 3 quotes. We go with the lowest one. If the applicant wants to go with the middle one or the higher one, they have to pay the difference, and it cannot go towards their 25% that's required. So we do ask them to put some skin in the game also. It's not just a 50-50, or we give them all the money for whatever they want to do. We do not do roofs. It's not something that's, it's not a requirement to have you do need a roof, but you can't see it. A lot of people do utilize the air conditioning. If that's something that the CRA board doesn't want to do anymore, we can take that off. The whole idea was that it's for code work, things that are required by code for upgrading, whether it's electrical, plumbing, air conditioning, HVAC, they call those, entryways, doorways to make them ADA accessible. A lot of people utilize the facade program for that part. And the criteria, these are all outlined on the website under the Community Development Agency portion. And it has a contact, which is me. And basically, I make sure that all the applications are fulfilled properly, that they don't get reimbursed for something that's already been done. They have to get the 3 quotes, and they cannot get any funding back unless it's actually been approved and they get a notice to proceed for that. Once the notice is done, they also have to fill out a W-9 form for the finance department. And then once that's actually completed and the application or the work is actually signed off on or signed off by the building department, at that point, they have to submit all of their paperwork, last bill showing paid in full, and then it's a reimbursement for that. And I fill out the paperwork, send it over to finance. They usually cut the check within about 3 weeks. And that's it. The majority of the programs, we used to have just the finance or just the facade program back, back 20 years ago. When I got back about 6 years ago, we started out with, I think it was 3 programs, and then we branched that out into residential. And unfortunately, we have not been proactive in regards to getting that word out regarding the renovations that are available for residents also. One of the things that we have done is, which is something new that we hadn't done before, is in order to get some affordable housing going, we are working with a few different builders in regards to funding or refunding the impact fees that are paid, whether it's water, sewer, police, fire, transportation, schools. And those, if there was a home already on the site, we give them full credit for whatever size home it was. And then, again, it's a reimbursement. And one of the things that we've seen is that they are being built. We've had 3 that were done. I've got 9 townhomes off of 5th Street over to the west. They're going to be done. And we also have Hannibal Square on 6th Street that has 24 townhomes that are looking to be done. And we actually updated the application so that it could include townhomes and condos. It was originally owner-occupied single-family homes. One of the things that's going to be coming up at our next one of our CRA board meetings is, do we want to allow those funds to go towards homes that are rented versus homes that are only owner-occupied? So that's going to be something that will come up at the next meeting. So that's a real quick summary on that. Now let's go back to the actual staff report and the information that we have for tonight's updates. So the CRA district, it is finite. It's a specific area. It does go from Oak Street on the north, 10th Street on the south, Hawthorne on the west, and Sheeler and Apopka Boulevard on the east side. 644 acres, and this was approved back in 1994. There was an update, by the way, when I was gone. I think it was somewhere around 2007, 2008. It was a nice, long CRA plan. Only problem was there was a lot of work put into it, and it was never adopted formally. So you can't plan off of it if it's not adopted. You also can't do anything unless it's in the plan itself. If something is in the plan, you can pay for it. But if it's not in the plan, you cannot pay for it.
So in 2007, 2008,
Somewhere right around there.
it was
I can find the old plan. It was
updated.
it was updated, but again, if it's not adopted by the CRA board, which it never was with a resolution, you can't use it. And they were relying on, of course, when I was gone for the 11 years, there wasn't a whole lot done in the downtown. We did the streetscape and we did a lot of lighting. We did some underground utilities with the CDBG grants, but when I was gone, they changed the lighting along Main Street and put the big overheads instead of the, lining the sidewalk, and we just had to get going again. I'll cover some of the funds at this point.
Okay.
So the overall budget, again, this is done each year. It does have to have a separate fiscal audit by an independent audit other than what the city actually has done. We have a separate auditor. So the professional services, and I'll go through some of the pictures I used, some of the items from the packet into the PowerPoint so everybody could also see those. So we are working on wayfinding signage. This is something that I had worked on back when I was here 25 years ago. And those signs had since gotten defunct. There's actually, I believe, a couple of them over near Aoki Tire that are still up. Actually, it's the hotel that's over on the west side. I think it's the Budget Inn. There's still somebody from Public Services put two of the same sign on the post. So those will be coming down, and we were replacing those with some good wayfinding signage. The audit, of course, is in there. I only do one person for the conference itself, and that's where you can glean from other agencies throughout the state. There's about 55 or 56 CRAs now in the state, and the state legislation has done its best to get rid of them or make it harder and harder to adopt new CRAs. So they're going to be harder and harder to come by. We have 6 assistance programs. The two that are probably the most active are the building code ones that I described before. This again is a $5,000 match with a $5,000 maximum with a 25% match. The facade program, I think we've had 18 submittals. I had one that voided out because they just didn't meet the timelines. The facade program, that's the exterior portion, that's painting, can be signage, windows, doors. Most people use it for painting. But we do require ADA accessibility or access for all of those. Building permit refund. We've changed this a little bit. The building permit refund and the business impact, those are for those new businesses that come into town. So if we get a new business that's or a new building that's coming into town, they can get some assistance with funding. It's not a lot, and that's another one that we could always put more money into, but we haven't had a lot of brand new businesses or commercial businesses coming into the downtown yet. We do have a couple site plans that have been approved. We're waiting for those to come to fruition so we can actually help them out a little bit. The residential renovation, we've only had one, and it's a $1,000 match. That person actually did, I think it was about $3,000 or $4,000 worth of work, and they fixed their whole house up. We do have a demolition program. That's the one that we haven't done anything with it. Nobody's needed anything for that. That might be one that we could go by the wayside and put that 15 towards something, another program. I do have budgeted downtown furniture. I was hoping to get the Station Street project going a little bit faster. And coupled with that, we also, on the last portion here, under improvements other than buildings, I do have budgeted for electrical boxes along Central. It would be Central Ave and 5th Street. And the whole idea behind that one is that when we do have events in the downtown where we can actually close the street off and get food trucks and vendors and things, they don't have to bring their noisy, polluting electrical generators to supply electricity. We just plug them in. And that keeps it a little bit more quiet. I've seen that down in Sarasota, did that. And I know Claremont did it and Mount Dora did it. Backing up just a hair. So what we'd like to do is get this going probably in 2024. with the benches, trash cans, bike racks. We already have a couple bike racks in the parking lot, on the Fifth Street parking lot, and we did the same type of bike racks that were in Kitland Nelson. They look like a bike. I've actually had people walk by those and go, "Can I park my bike here?" And the answer is definitely yes. Special district, there's about, I want to say 170, 180 special districts in the state, and we're mandated to pay into that special district fee. Let's see here, Central Ave Trail portion. This is another part that will be coupled with the downtown Apopka Trail. This is the one that's been under design for about a year and a half now. We ran into 5 lots that needed easements that were the holdup because we had to actually get an easement. We've got to get an easement agreement, and we had to get a legal description for that easement for the properties. They're on 6th Street. There's 4 properties there, and then there's 1 property off of the northeast corner of Hawthorne and Michael Gladden. So right now we have in the budget for the downtown Apopka Trail, we got $3.185 million. My guess is that this was originally proposed back 5 years ago. We were looking at about 2.3, 2.4 that we were estimating. With the price of asphalt and concrete going up, that's why we've got enough in there to actually cover it. Each year, we do get about $600,000 to $700,000 from the county portion of the tax increment fund and the city's portion. We are looking to increase a couple of the different programs like the affordable housing portion and also complete the trail system, a loop trail going up Central Ave, so it'll connect Michael Gladden to the Station Street project area and 5th Street. So somebody can actually get on the trail and do a big loop, and it's about it'll be about 1.8 miles there, and then the trail also will go out to the city center off of 6th Street, and so it'll connect basically the east side of downtown to the west side of downtown. And enough with that. Let me go back on. So the wayfinding signage right now, I believe this was shown to City Council a couple weeks ago. I actually have the mock-up of the sign in the hallway up next to community development. So if you want to see what the sign looks like, it's up there. It's a good size sign. You have to have them big, otherwise nobody can read them when they're driving 35 or 40 miles an hour down the road. The signage locations, because it does deal with directional signage coming into the downtown, CRA funds can be expended outside of the CRA district, but this is one of those only exceptions that can be done. Tavares did it, Claremont did it, and we did have legal look at it, and they said the same thing. I actually had the Florida Redevelopment Association. I asked them again for about the 3rd time and got the same reply. Get a call from Cliff Shepard, who's the FRA's attorney, and he said, "Yes, I've already told you this once, Jim. I'll tell you twice." So the signs themselves. This is the first couple are going out near Vic Road off of Orange Blossom Trail. Again, leading, you'll see City Hall, Fire Station, Museum, and the Community Center. So there's 2 there. And by the way, there's 10 signs that are going in. And then the other couple that they're on Park Avenue at 9th Street coming into the downtown, and then off of 6th Street also coming into the downtown. But this is where it directs you to the Community Center, City Hall, Fire Department, and then a park. We were actually told we cannot name the park. So it's the park is going to be Kitland Nelson, of course. I'm sorry, I tried to orient these north to south. So some of these are upside down or diagonal or angled. But so the other few that we've got are off of Park Avenue and 3rd Street on the north side of Main Street. And then we've got another one a little bit farther north off of just north of Tanglewild. Again, heading south into the downtown area just before you get to Lake McCoy and Lake McCoy Drive. And then the last couple, the interesting part with this one is I originally had one of the signs approximately where that top one is, it was sign number 1 back, this is again probably 20 years ago, and I had the Women's Club actually pay for signage to come in. That's why I always consider the Women's Club and the Historical Museum very, very good partners because they both helped contribute to the CRA back before we had any tax increment money actually coming into the city itself. Then, of course, the other one is Orange Blossom Trail coming into the downtown just east of Sheeler. This is the total amounts that we've spent so far in from 2018 to 2023 for our CRA assistance programs. We've got 16 applications that have been processed for the Building Code Assistance Program. There is a requirement, as I mentioned, for both the Building Code and the Facade Program that the applicant contribute at least 25%. Typically, they contribute a little bit more, hence the difference. In this case, for the Building Code, they contributed about 40% of the total cost. For the Facade Renovation Program, they've contributed a little over 30%, about 31%. The Building Permit Refund Program, this is done before we actually looked at it a little bit harder because everybody could apply for a building permit, but is it really going to help you? And so what we wanted to do is put that towards brand new buildings as we get a little bit more commercial operations going in downtown. Building Impact Fee, again, this is the same type of thing. We limited that. And then the residential impact fee, this is the one that we've got plenty of funds in there. And we want to actually increase that for the next budget year so that we can get some of these affordable housing programs in our downtown area. And then the residential renovation, I definitely want more of that. And we do need to do more reach out for that. But so far, the CRA spent a little over $200,000. Overall, $331's been invested in our downtown in the CRA district. Next major one is the downtown Apopka Trail. This has been, we originally were looking at this back probably 5 years ago. This is so that we can connect our east to west and the north to south in the main portion of the downtown. This was originally designed, you can see the lower right-hand corner. This is what we originally envisioned it to be, anywhere from a 10 to 12-foot trail. It looks like it's going to be all 10-footers. And I did transpose palm trees in there. We have since we don't know if we're going to do palm trees or crepe myrtles, something like that, but something that's lower maintenance so we don't have to go out there and trim the trees all the time. And this is the street mix. If you ever want to play with how to design a street mix is one that anybody can use. And I've found that quite a few cities that are working on trails or working on roads, they use this as their primary design to show what it could look like in terms of dimensions. The pictures on the right, this is on the north side of Alonzo Williams Park. This is currently a dirt path that people speed their cars through there. And what I want to do is basically cordon this off and make it just for a trail. This is on the north side of one of our parks, and I cannot see cars going down right next to a trail. So this is going to be relegated just for the trail, and we're going to put some landscape landscape barriers and bollards so that it is only going to be for that use. We're also going to be putting fencing on the north side so that we don't get people that are crossing into it. There's always some people that try to ride something else other than a bicycle or walking a child in a carriage or just walking themselves or rollerblades. We're on the left. This is across the street from Grace Gospel Church, just to the west of Alabama, looking towards the west. Towards downtown, we're looking to resurface the road and then put the trail in on the south side. That's the area that we actually have to get the permissions from 4 different property owners. And one of the other big ones is going to be Station Street. If you've ever been from Central Ave over to Park Avenue, it's kind of a narrow street. It's kind of funky, has some terrible parking on the south side that the businesses, they keep backing out right onto the road itself. And the idea here is to make this a one-way path going west, or going east, all the way to Park Avenue. And then 6th Street, which is about two-thirds of the way down, that starts going west, and that's where the trail will take off going to the east, going towards the city center itself. And by doing this, we'll also be able to put on-street parking, which is it'll be much better than what's available to any tenant there right now. It'll clean up the area. The whole idea is, it's slum and blight, you want to clean up the area as much as possible. This is the portion of Central Ave that I was mentioning that we want to do the trail going from Michael Gladden up to 5th Street. This is what I call the missing section. It's one that's probably the most flat, but also has some businesses on the southern portion that we can't really do too much with the trail because they already have parking that's basically right in front or right next to where the sidewalk is. So there's a couple spots that we can't do anything with unless we took somebody's parking away, which we don't want to do. We want to encourage the businesses in that area also. And then, again, adding to pedestrian mobilization, we've got our 5th Street parking lot, which for those of you that come downtown during the weekend, it's busy. It's sometimes it's fully parked, and I've parked over in City Hall parking lot before because this is full. And I don't like waiting, so I do a little bit of a walk instead. For some of the businesses, and we've got a couple new owners of some property off of Central Ave, I wanted to do this is a real simple connection feature, but it'll connect the parking lot to Central Ave so that if there's businesses on that northern portion or right across the street or right adjacent to that, we can put a very simple sidewalk path in there. Landscape lighting is a major component for keeping things safe. They may or may not use it during the night, but if it's lit, you keep the riffraff away. And that's the same thing with the downtown Apopka Trail. We want to keep it lit. We don't encourage nighttime use, but we're in a downtown. People are going to use it. And if you light it, it's a lot safer than if it's not lit. So we want to keep everybody as safe as possible with that. This is also the area that we're looking to do some more bicycle racks, benches. We do have to watch out for the types of benches that we put on because you've got to make them safe so that if they're sitting in the sun and somebody goes and sits down on them, we don't want them to hurt themselves on the other side. And those are the main projects that we've got going. I'm looking forward to seeing, talking about the budget for next year because I've got some kind of neat ideas that we've been talking about for some parks.
All right. Christine, you want to come on?
Well, are we
You
asking
want
questions?
questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
real quick. So where I struggle is we're about to approve a 7-month to expense to actual tonight on the CRA development budget. We've got 0.3% expended, $12,000 for this year on a $4 million budget. The annual projection to finish out the year is only $21,000, according to this budget. What are we doing?
Well, the trail.
Because,
Gotcha.
I've been here for the past 5 years. We did approve a budget every single year for a 6th Street promenade, a trail system, you name it. We've done our part. Where is it?
The trail has been, like I mentioned right at the beginning, the trail's been under design for about 1.5 years. We ran into some snags for getting the design done itself and what portions we were going to go with first. We decided that we were going to bid out the whole thing at the same time. It'll probably go out to bid in August. We figure it'll be about a 45-day bid process, which will put us into next year's budget. We don't know how much it's going to cost. That'll probably chew up about $3 million of that $4 million. And then the rest of the budget will go towards the Central Ave portion and a lot of the things that we have not done because we haven't done the trail and we haven't done the 6th Street center yet. So
I mean, we we have these meetings, it's just, we set the budget and nothing, I mean, the onesies, twosies things, yeah, $200,000 over the course of a 5-year period is not really compelling.
I'd
we've
love to
had-
tell you it's moving faster, but I'm one person doing this whole thing.
But, but Mr. Hitt, we've heard that excuse year after year. One person here, I don't have enough staff. I mean, why haven't we staffed a position in the CRA to help you execute some of these funds? Because, okay, let's isolate COVID years, but there was plenty of time before that we were talking about 6th Street Promenade. And to your point in your presentation, it's a valid point, is every dollar that we don't invest in stuff that we're eventually going to do anyways is going to be more expensive tomorrow, 2 years from now, as it is today.
True.
We had the budget back before COVID that all this stuff could have started happening, and yet we're still talking about slow playing benches and trash cans. I mean, why can't we do that at least in this budget year? I mean, clearly, there's no plan to do it based off of what's in that report that we'll look at as a council later this evening.
Right.
Because, and quite honestly, it doesn't reconcile, because on here in June, for awnings, there's a $27,000 CRA expenditure.
Yeah, that one just
higher
came
than
in.
this number.
That one just came in. Yeah.
Okay. My frustration is, again, this is one of those funds where the people whose incremental tax goes into this, they actually want to see us spending these dollars for the good of the community. And, the best thing to do is to put it on tangible things, capital improvements that people can actually put their eyes on. I mean, we just had UCF come in here and do that presentation. Why could we not do what they suggested with the mural and that little outdoor space by and gingerbreads, that sort of stuff? I mean, I just don't see that on here.
That'll, next year's budget.
Okay. Why not this year? I mean,
We-
we're going to spend $20,000 according to this report.
If
Why not this year's budget?
we could put it in this year's budget. I could do that. If we got to design it, that'll take probably a couple months to do. And in the underground, we're going to probably have to put a drinking fountain. So there's underground water that'll have to be done, underground electric. I mean, you're probably looking at 2-3 months worth of design and engineering. But it is possible, sure.
It's just, I mean, you get where I'm coming from. It's just
I do.
frustrating to see that out of a $4 million budget where we could really be doing some marked improvement, we're going to spend $20,000 this year. That's just,
It's minimal. I agree. Next year, I'm figuring it'll be a bust. It'll be a big year. There's going to be, between the trail and
I've heard
I've
that
got
for
3
6
other
years,
parks.
Jim.
I know.
I mean, it's not like I'm new to this.
I know.
I've been here for 6-7 years.
Yep.
Like it's not happened yet. Every year we hear next year it's going to be that way. It hasn't happened. So
Okay.
That's the frustrating part.
Any other questions?
I want to hear
Commissioner,
Commissioner Moore's presentation.
Orange County Commissioner Christine Moore, 2145 Palmcrest Drive. You're going to tell I've been working on this a little bit, and so I wanted to come in here with some suggestions and offer some help. And so I'm going to read from my letter. I don't know, Linda brought I have just a couple pages of some pictures to put on the PowerPoint, but you have them in front of you. But for the sake of the audience, I don't know how, should I come get that?
I'm looking to throw it.
And so I'm just going to read from this letter for the sake of the audience. Dear Apopka CRA board members, as we approach the January BCC extension of your CRA for 10 years, I've reviewed successful Orange County CRA's plans and documents to better assist you through the approval process. I have a few suggestions for your board to consider today. First, and you were talking about being more effective. My first suggestion is that between now and January, you hold monthly CRA board meetings. And the purpose would be to increase the visibility of the CRA, make time for revisions to grant programs, increase property owner participation, and provide additional direction to your staff. 2, I had a suggestion after reviewing all your materials, redesign a more marketable grant brochure and create a more certain time grant application process. The purpose of my suggestion is to increase, again, engagement by property owners, improve access to calendars, information, program goals, and inspire greater citizen participation. I came up with a sample schedule for you to consider. I'm not married to any of these months, just a sample. July, mail a redesigned grant brochure to all the property owners so they're aware of the program. August through September, have like an open enrollment program so Jim Hitt doesn't have to process applications all year long. October, there would be time to review the applications. November, board approval of grant recipients. December, the checks could be distributed, and I heard him discuss excellent ways that you have to have 3 quotes and different requirements to be accountable for the money. No issues with that. I think this board should, as it was suggested by Mr. Hitt, perhaps update your programs, maybe raise some amounts and set annual goals. So you, in each of these programs, you could hold staff to how many grants you want to see that he awards. The Building Code Assistance Program at $5,000, maybe you want to make sure that 3 get appropriated a year. The Facade Renovation Program, that was the only one when I reviewed a lot of the other CRAs that they had higher amounts. In fact, Winter Garden was up to $20,000 with the 50% match. So, just doing the math, that would at least be $200,000 of facade improvements going into the CRA annually. I'm not really a fan of the building permit and business impact fee grants. If it was me, I would remove those. Your RAP residential renovation, I actually have that wrong there, but that particular grant, I would increase. That's the one for your individual homeowners to get the property owners more involved. Today with the cost of paint, you can't hardly buy paint for $1,000. I would raise that to $2,500, but I would still make your homeowner match it a little bit. And I would set a goal, for Mr. Hitt and his staff to at least get 5 of these out a year. And finally, this one won't catch any of you by surprise. I would consider adding a landscaping grant. That's supposed to be funny, but I'm out every weekend doing something like that. We were out last week in the rain. All right, as far as your downtown trail system, I think that's fabulous. And this is a point where you could stick up the PowerPoint for me. The research I've been doing, talking to some of our Orange County planning staff, you're seeing a lot of the cities utilize an urban cultural trail concept. And I think Apopka is a perfect candidate for that because the trail will go by the museum, and they'll direct them to mini parks, pocket parks, pop-ups. What else? Art, sculpture, murals, those kinds of things. And so I'm going to show that to you really quick. Oh, definitely not. Yeah, that one. There we go. Okay, and then I just hit this down. Okay. Oh, there we go. And then I know you're working on your trail, and Jim and I have a little difference of opinion on one issue. I want you to consider a part of your RFP for the trail to look at some concrete. And no, I don't have any stock in a concrete company, but you guys don't have enough fun in some of my jokes. Anyway, I just wanted to show you the West Orange Trail does have some portions concrete. That's Winter Garden at the top. You can see just a little bit of concrete in your high density, your area that you really want to show off. And then the one below is your trail. That's going through Kitland Nelson Park and over at Apopka Station. You can see the West Orange Trail is concrete there. Certainly many areas would be fine to be asphalt, but I think you should think that through a little bit more. And here's some just information for you about these cultural trails. That's the Indianapolis Cultural Trail, the Cleveland Cultural Trail. If you go online, you're going to see some just beautiful, creative concepts to get more people cycling, walking. And of course, the more people you have downtown, your crime will go down and your property values will go up. And that's the goal, right? We want to see you getting more money from this annually. I I know historically it's not good to mention the city of Orlando, so please don't run me out on a rail today. There, I got a chuckle. They're not getting my joke. I'm not giving the jokes for you. So just a couple of pictures about the city of Orlando's urban trail system. And again, most of it is asphalt, but there are very important segments that they really wanted to use some concrete. And that's pretty much what I had for you today. And so it did take a few hours to put this together, but I wanted to be helpful. So I hope you find it so.
Well, Commissioner, if you got ideas on where you want the cement, we need to get that sooner rather than later if we're going to go out to bid on the whole project. So if you've got some ideas on where you think the cement segments should be, then.
All right. So you're asking me to get with Mr. Hitt?
Yeah, sure.
I'd be happy to do that. Be happy to do that. And so you're giving me more homework, but I'm happy to do that. You know, I've turned into a cyclist, so you're likely to see me riding around town.
Pam, do you know the price differential between asphalt and concrete?
Oh, it's higher. And it's definitely higher. Have you ever,
50% higher, 25%?
oh, I don't know. Miss,
50 to 70% higher.
it's higher.
Green Road and North County's trail standards, it's even more.
Okay.
Their trail standards are higher than our road standards.
Okay.
That's why we should be selective.
Okay.
Now, have you all wondered, I asked about this because I sit on Metro Plan with you about why on I-4, have you ever thought about this? We have concrete on the express lanes and asphalt in the regular. Have you ever noticed that? I thought there had to be some really good design reasons, costs, whatever. I was told it was just because the concrete lobby was strong. An interesting I-4 tidbit for you today. All right. Any questions? I'll sit down.
Commissioner Moore?
I mean, what you have here, from a blueprint perspective on when it comes time to renewing the CRA, is this kind of your roadmap for us, or is there more?
No, I think that's it. I think it's pretty comprehensive, Commissioner Becker. Yeah. I think having meetings monthly, you're going to make a lot of progress. So I try to be very positive and narrow it down. I spent about 20, 25 hours to come up with this, so I didn't come up with it lightly.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Okay, Jim, anything else?
That's primarily it. We just wanted to get caught up in a lot of the things that Commissioner Moore mentioned. Those are things that we do need to get our advertisement and slickness out there so that we can advertise what we can do for the residents a lot better, and basically spread the information out there and also the funding that's available. I do like the idea of bringing up the costs for the residential fix-up program. One of the things that Commissioner Moore mentioned was landscaping. We did do some landscaping when I was down in Claremont, and it was great for the first 4 or 5 months, and then they stopped watering it. And that's a hard one to keep after, because if it dies, then they come back and they want more money to put in the same thing that they just died. So one of the things that we could do, though, is spread it out for possibly fencing. A lot of people, if it's decorative fencing, that's something we probably needed to discuss, is whether we want to go that route, or what type of fencing and where that type of fencing might go. But again, it's if we want to do landscaping, we can do landscaping, but that would probably include irrigation. And the irrigation, that's the expensive part.
So in this meeting, what I've kind of heard is that the reason why we haven't been able to invest as much time and money into the CRA is because of the lack of staff. You mentioned that you're the only one doing this.
Especially the last year, because we were
Okay.
down 3 planners.
I know.
Yeah.
But is there maybe a consideration to bring someone specifically to kind of work on this CRA? And we've been given kind of a roadmap, so it would kind of free you a little bit.
Assistance.
Yeah, so,
I could see that. The CRA can pay for administrative services. We've never done that. in terms of either my salary is, like a portion of it is obviously the CRA director position, but it can also go towards support staff for that. So that is something that we could definitely consider. We could put it in the budget and then work on it.
Maybe you should consider that, so this way, that would be a consideration.
Yes.
Because then it would be we would have someone consistently working on the CRA rather than putting it on the shelf for a while and then getting to it, and
Yep,
I would suggest that.
okay.
Thanks.
The other part, real quick, by the way, regarding the trail, the cultural trail, a lot of times what happened with the Pinellas Trail, that was the first major trail that went in, that was down over in Dunedin and Pinellas County. One of the things that occurred there was that they kind of pushed the trail in. A lot of people did not want it going near their houses or behind their houses because they thought it would create a lot of crime. Turns out those are now the more valuable houses that back up to the trail. And that's kind of the same thing that ends up happening here. And what they've ended up doing was making it a cultural trail, anywhere from painting fences with, like murals, or murals along the trail itself, or pointing out where those murals, like Commissioner Moore mentioned, where those murals are, or where a park is. This next year's budget, I wanted to do the park out here. We've got another Pocket Park neighborhood park plan for 8th and Highland. We've got the old maintenance barn there. So that's another location for another park. And anyway, there's a couple other ideas that we're looking to do, but those will all be brought forth for the budget too.
When will the wayfinding signs start to go up?
Believe we're working on the bid right now. It's running a little less than $50,000. We ran into a snafu because we had some assistance with that for one company that had already done more than $20,000 worth of work in the city, and we have to go out to bid if they bid on it, if anything's over $50,000 for that one contractor. So we ran into that issue. It's just some of our procurement models, and so that may or may not change in the near future, but we're working on that portion too. I'm really not sure. I don't have I'm hoping in the next couple months.
All right, with that, any other questions? If not, we'll just take a 5-minute break. We'll be right back for the city council meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, you asked some nice questions.